to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today we're going to read a wonderful quote channeling on indigo children and a portion of another that has some interesting answers to questions about the Galactic Federation in relation to the Confederation. I'm fascinated with the indigo children concept because it resonates with what Dolores Cannon said about the 3 waves of volunteers. We see kids today that are on another level, even my own kids, and here is some suggestions as to how to deal with the indigo child and what they are. We begin with a channeling delivered on November 16th, 2006. The question: I believe that my child is an indigo child. Can you confirm this for me? Carla channeling. We are those known to you as the Principle of Quo. Greetings in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator, in whose name and service we come to be with your circle of seeking this day. Thank you for the privilege of being called to this circle. We're very glad to be able to respond to the queries of the one known as W. As always, however, before we begin, we would ask not only of him, but of all those who may read or listen to this session, that you use your powers of discrimination in deciding which of our thoughts you wish to consider further. Look for resonance and that feeling of a half-recognized truth that you know is for you. If you do not feel that resonance, then please leave our thoughts behind. We thank you for the discrimination, as it will allow us to speak our thoughts freely without being concerned for infringement upon anyone's free will. My brother, we may confirm that your child is an indigo child. May we ask if there is further query? We are those of Quo. The main question is, I'm seeking to understand the dynamics involved in relating to my indigo child. It seems to me that my child has such a powerful psychic link to me that even slight variations in mood and in my ability to tolerate frustration are reflected in my son's sometimes challenging moods of anger and frustration. Is this an accurate perception? If so, are there metaphors, fields of inquiry, images, analogies, or spiritual principles which come into play in this developing relationship, which will help me experience this relationship and treat my son in the most loving and skillful way? We are those of Quo and are aware of your query, my brother. In some ways, my brother, the image that comes to mind is the image of Daedalus and his son Icarus. When you ask about the relationship between yourself and your son and the tight interconnectedness of your energies, the myth of Daedalus and Icarus comes to mind. In that particular story, the son was so ambitious that his father created for him wings to fly, but he flew too close to the sun and thusly fell back to earth, burned to a cinder. You are Daedalus, hoping to help your son not to soar too high or to crash too low. We do not by this, however, mean to suggest that you're a policeman. Indeed, your sense of being very connected with your son is accurate. The indigo child is a 3rd-generation wanderer. If you would wish to use the language or terminology with which this instrument has some familiarity, the 1st generation of wanderers was made up of those such as this instrument, which responded to the call of Earth by coming from a higher density to move into incarnation and share the love and the light of the one infinite Creator with those of this planet in an attempt to shift the planetary energies more towards the light. The 2nd generation of wanderers was comprised of those who also were interested in helping planet Earth. However, this 2nd generation of wanderers is characterized by more confidence than the 1st generation of wanderers, but also less of a dedication of service to others, in that their chief motivation for coming into incarnation at this latter hour of your 3rd density was to use the boot camp-like atmosphere of planet Earth to do what they would consider quick and dirty work in adjusting the balance of their energies between love and wisdom. For some, this means emphasizing the heart and the opening of the heart. For others, who already have their hearts opened, it means emphasizing wisdom and asking the open heart to receive the highest and best self's wisdom, which comes from guidance and informs loving compassion in such a way that there is an equanimity to match the passion of your dedication to service. The 3rd generation of wanderers is made up of what this instrument and many others call the indigo children. There are many other terms for these children. However, in general, they are the first graduates in this harvest from the third density of planet Earth. These souls have moved through the gates into larger life. They have dropped their physical bodies and entered into a healing process with their guidance and with all those forces which protect and nurture entities in the inner planes who are moving through the processes of death and rebirth. Further, they have moved through the steps of light and have passed their graduation test. These are fourth density wanderers, whose first act upon choosing what would please them the most to do next was to return to their beloved home planet in order to assist not only the people of planet Earth, but also, and perhaps more principally, the planet itself. These entities are characterized by a thinner veil, which enables them to remember more about who they are and why they are here. The sense of mission or destiny is very common in third-generation wanderers. Your son and all of the indigo children like him are people who, when they have achieved a mental and emotional maturity to match their spiritual gifts, will be far tougher by nature than many among your people, able to deal with difficult times and situations and able to absorb rapid change. These abilities are appropriate for these indigo children. However, there are side effects to being built in such a way. These side effects are those times of difficulty and difficult emotions upon which you have remarked. In dealing with indigo children, and indeed most of those being born into your earth at this time are indigo children, it is well to keep in mind that these entities, though wise in their way, are indeed children. There is as much need in them as in any other child for good, stable, consistent guidance. However, you are also correct in noting the extreme interrelatedness of yourself and your son in the terms of the motion and rhythm of your moods and the behavior that stems from such moods. We would ask you to imagine a rolling sea. The storm lashes the top of the sea and drives the winds onto shore, bringing waves and storm in their wake. Below the surface of that stormy water lie riptides that tend to pull entities away from their moorings and out to sea. Beneath that level there lie calm waters, stable, ancient, and beautiful. It is a naturally stormy atmosphere in the everyday of planet Earth for most people, unless entities are working especially carefully to stay in the present moment at all times. The flow of living includes many abrupt stops and hasty returns, many changes of attitude, and many alterations in the flow of what is happening, which may call forth many new and unexpected emotions. We're not suggesting that you alter this natural run of stormy weather in the everyday of you and your son's existence. What we would suggest is not so much a metaphor as a kind of game. We ask that you see your energies and your son's energies as a part of a dance. You and your son are creating this dance. You are dancing a kind of mirror dance. What you do, he imitates, and what he does, you imitate. When you and he are doing loving and positive things, the dance is a happy dance, or so it seems to your judgment. When there is challenge, upset, and hostility, then it seems to be an unhappy dance. However, in order to play your game more skillfully, we would ask you not to label your various moods as good or bad. We would ask you not to label the exchanges of mood between you and your child as good or bad. Rather, we would ask you to see the whole of the pattern as an ongoing dance. In a dance, my brother, there are many missed steps. This does not mean that the music stops playing or that you have in some way failed to dance properly. Rather, we encourage you to dance with lightness of heart and with as much clarity of observation of which you are capable at any time. This is a game in which attention to detail is very helpful. As you said, even in the smallest things, your son and you seem psychically connected. Indeed, all entities have this psychic connection. In the case of indigo children, however, there is allowable more awareness to be brought into the incarnation. So, such children are often much more sensitive and aware of their parents and unspoken feelings than would have been children of days gone by, shall we say. It is not that you are responsible for smoothing out your son's moods, any more than your son is responsible for smoothing out your moods. It is that you are presently engaged in an intensely intimate relationship with an entity whose powers are greater than his ability to control those powers or even to understand them, or be able in any way to express them. When a child has trouble expressing all that is within him, he may become frustrated, very frustrated, and this is often the case with an indigo child. We are not encouraging you to find some method of teaching this child. On the other hand, we would ask you to be quite responsive to any questions or comments shared by the child with you. Such expressions are your invitation to tell your stories, share your wisdom, and embrace the child in an atmosphere of acceptance and love. Above all, my brother, we would ask you to explore the concept that you and your child are one, and that, indeed, the mirror that the child holds up to you enables you to work upon yourself. This is the attitude that will serve your child and you the very best. When you use the mirror, use it to work on yourself. See what is there, find it within yourself, and work upon that energy in yourself. Your child will feel that you are doing spiritual work responsibly. He may not consciously or intellectually be able to express this understanding, but as you stand calmly and with sureness upon the ground of your own being and do the work that has come to you to do, your child will see and feel that there is a stable and supportive atmosphere which accepts him and accepts the images that he is offering. Therefore, as you do this work, you present to your child a mirror of a certain kind. In that mirror, the child will see positive issues, not preached to him, but expressed to him by the unspoken manifestation of silent beingness. As you work upon yourself, you shall be creating for your child the best possible supportive structure. As you accept yourself, your son will feel accepted. As you see the unevenness within you and accept them, so your child will feel accepted in his unevenness. There is no question but that, occasionally, if a child is disrupting the family and the child cannot be coaxed into altering his behavior, the child must be shown the limits of acceptable behavior. You may choose your own way of doing this. We give to this instrument the picture of her disciplining her cats. Her cats cannot understand language, but they can understand the word no connected with water. Therefore, the cat can be trained to avoid behavior that will elicit the word no and the wedding. We do not know how you would emphasize the word no occasionally has a firm and limiting meaning, but we do encourage you to think carefully and speak with your mate concerning the rules of the house so that there is a stable and consistent set of limits beyond which behavior is not acceptable. This instrument calls removing a child from an environment for discipline a timeout. We would suggest that timeouts are appropriate. Also appropriate are any other means of non-violent expression that underlines the word no without doing violence or physical harm. Sometimes it seems a cruel thing to set a limit. However, it is helpful in terms of the incarnational experience of a child that from the beginning the child is aware that indeed there are limits and that there is not a chaotic existence with no meaning, but rather a meaningful existence with order, ideals, peace, and beauty. If you do not give your child a certain sense of limits and order, the child will be left in chaos, not knowing how to value his feelings, his thoughts, and his dreams. As we finish answering this query, we look at the word dream. You have dreams, my brother, and so does your child. You are those who dream together, and so are we all. But you and your child have special dreams known only to you. Forget all except loving, being loved, and sharing your dreams. Let imagination wing its way through your relationship with your child. Let your creativity blossom as you surround this child with the essence of your unspoken love. People his kingdom with your fairies and gnomes and archangels to keep him safe. These are all the creatures of your honest and heartfelt love, and they will be good companions for your child. May we ask if there is another query at this time? I believe the viability to act as a loving parent to a son depends on how open my heart is to love. My intention is to use this relationship as an opportunity to know myself and to expand my capacity for forgiveness, levity, compassion, faith, and healing. Which archetypes would you suggest which might clear up all the dynamics that work within my family, especially in relation to my son? We are those of Quo and are aware of the query, my brother. The archetypal energies surrounding your relationship with your son are those energies between the master and the pupil. You are the teach-learner, and your son is learn-teacher. Although your son's gifts are astonishing in some ways, they are not developed. You are that entity who has a spiritual maturity which has been hard won. It is fortunate, my brother, that life has not been able to dim your light. It has wearied you, and we see in you a desire not to be so weary. But it has not caused you to lose faith or to relinquish your dreams. Therefore, you are a good master, a good teach-learner for your child. Rather than holding to the dynamics of teacher and student, however, we would encourage you to be open to the subtleties of the teachings becoming learn teachings, and vice versa, for your child has things to teach you, as well as you're having things to teach him. You stand for your child in some ways as an agent of the unconscious. Your child is not born knowing which way to move in terms of metaphysical principles. Therefore, allow the things around you, your books, your papers, those items that you love, to be meaningful to your child as well as to you. Invest time in responding to even minor questions, knowing that your child's unevenness of personality will cause him to move at things roundabout and in a serpentine and indirect fashion. Move with those energies, operate with him in his rambling so that you may come with him to a place where you have not expected. He is seeking in a way which moves from level to level. Therefore, your beingness, rather than your behavior, is going to help him the most. This, as you said, will cause you again and again to move from the doing to the being. It is not what you do with your child that matters nearly as much as your attention to your own state of awareness. Are you aware, conscious, and alert to the now? Or are you caught up in what the one known as Eckhart called content? Move always from content to essence, from detail to essence, from facts and this and that to essence. It will often seem to be an impractical move, but in terms of helping both you and your child to be refined by the fire of planet Earth's atmosphere of learning, it is the most skillful choice. Is there a further query, my brother? My son has issues due to being different from his classmates. I would like to shore up his self-esteem, but I'm concerned about interfering with his free will. Should I think about setting the stage for his actions on planet Earth when he is grown? What are my chief spiritual concerns in raising my son well? We are those of Quo, and we are aware of your query, my brother. Your chief spiritual concern in dealing with any relationship is to bring to that relationship your true self. Thusly, we move the energy back from what shall you do with another to the consideration of how shall you be. How shall you create an atmosphere that will provide you with a good environment for pursuing your spiritual process? We would suggest, as we often have suggested before for others, my brother, so it is not personal to you, that there be a daily period of silence that is observed by you in a consistent manner. We suggest the circadian rhythm, because your body has that daily rhythm. If you make a habit of seeking the silence at the same general time each day, within the first month of your making such a habit, your body will move through all of its objections to the sitting or the resting in the silence that it can throw up. And it will begin to be able to rest in the silence. It takes a certain amount of training simply to quiet the body so that it does not feel threatened by sitting without doing anything, whether watching the television, listening to the radio, or something else. When there is no content, the mind and the body become anxious. It takes time to create a habit of solitary silence so that your body welcomes it, expects it, and is not disturbed by it. Once you have trained your body, your mind, and your emotions so that you are able to sit in the silence without interference from them on the gross level of twitching, developing symptoms of headaches, and so forth, then you have the chance at last to rest in that powerful silence that offers you what words never can. The love and the light of the one infinite creator are completely expressed within the silence. To try to translate that silent expression into voice, words, music, poetry of any kind is tremendously difficult. The easiest way is to approach the creator is through unexplained, unmanifested silence. Let that be a part of your being, and that shall in time place you in a state of mind which is far more likely to alert you when you have gone away from the present moment and have become distracted by detail. You cannot hope to be undistracted. No entity in third density is expected to remain undistracted. The purpose of incarnation is consistently and cyclically to be distracted. Each distraction teaches you about yourself and who you think you are as opposed to who you are. Work on that, and that shall be the safe place for your child. As he sees you in praise, meditation, in prayer each day, he shall know that there is more to this life than the play, the work, and the sleeping. He shall see from his own self, without being taught a word, that those entities whom he values value spiritual life and seek it out, and so he will be curious as well for children. By nature, are imitative. By your being, by your seeking, you shall offer him the opportunity to see how that tune goes, and he can try that out. Children try things out that they see and work with them in their own way and in their own time. We would suggest that you always respond to questions, but that you do not attempt to teach unless questions are asked. The times will come as you love and care for your child when it will be natural for him to ask along the lines of this or that spiritual concern. At that time, my brother, share your truth as straightforwardly and lovingly as you know how, knowing that there are many mistakes, but that love wins through. We would ask if there is another query at this time. Sometimes I believe that I am a wanderer. Can you confirm this, please? We are those of Quo, my brother, and we are aware of your query. We can confirm, my brother, that you are a wanderer. Is there a further query at this time? I feel called to manifest inspirational, devotional music. Sometimes I find that I feel it is appropriate to express pure sound with music instead of words. Could you talk about this? Please offer any suggestions as to what spiritual principles are involved in this outer work of my lifetime. We are those of Quo, and we are aware of your query, my brother. The work of any artist is a work of translation. An artist translates concepts into a manifestation that is flat, shall we say. The concept is a very round and living entity. It is infinite in its content and is a whole. The human intelligence does not work with concepts. It works with words. Intelligence puts words together to make ideas and sentences. Intelligence struggles to go from point A to point B to point C and to learn. The artist is an entity whose other intelligence has been somewhat awakened, for there are two intelligences in any human being. There is the intelligence which came with the body that you enjoy in this incarnation. That intelligence is a choice-making intelligence. It gathers facts, and it is geared to make decisions. It does that very well. However, it is not a kind of intelligence that is capable of dealing with concepts, yet it yearns for that which is beyond its intelligence. On the other hand, the heart, yours and all those of planet Earth, lives and dwells in the land of concept. It does so in silence. The heart works with feelings, insights, inspiration, and hunches. Artistry comes through that non-local, non-linear part of your intelligence. So what you're doing as you work with your music to manifest is to catch that ball of concept that is the creature of sound that you wish to make. And then you set about clothing it in its details, the words and forms that express the feelings with which you began. When the feeling and the emotions run far ahead of that part of you that is harnessed to translate concepts into words, what you get is melody and not so many words, which is what you are experiencing. We would note in this regard the sound that you make instead of the word more accurately expresses the feeling that you are attempting to convey than does any word. Consequently, we would recommend that you open your mind to the concept of tones with vowel sounds as part of your music. You are only attempting more purely than language allows to express a certain quality or essence that lies in the underground, purified rivers of emotion that are part of the archetypal mind. You are attempting to bring these deep melodies up into conscious awareness, and indeed as you do so, it shall be of service to others, of some note, shall we say. However, such work cannot be rushed. Consequently, when you feel that there is a lack of some kind in any composition on which you are working at a particular time, we would suggest that you take it into your heart and let it sing itself to you while you listen to it. It may help you if you move while you are doing so, as in going for a walk or doing some rhythmic activity, such as the chores of the day, the mowing of the lawn, the picking up of the leaves, or some mindless repetitive task. See that as a dance that accompanies your unfinished song. Dance to it and let it sing itself to you. And in that state of no stress and no worry, that which is at the heart of what you are attempting to catch will come to you. If it is not in words, then let it be without words, and trust in your sense of the appropriate vowel sounds that bring up certain emotions in certain configurations from the unconscious mind. Underlying our advice to you is the simple encouragement to trust yourself. Believe in yourself. Do not judge yourself according to what you have accomplished. Judge yourself not at all. Accept and know that you and the Creator are one, and that your whole desire is to be part of that creative principle. This is your heart, and it is a good heart. You are worthy. With that confidence and that calm that goes with the knowledge that you, imperfect as you are worthy, then you shall be open to receive the gifts of the present moment. And my brother, when you can relax and lift yourself to the simple joy of being, you have just created for yourself the best possible environment for receiving inspiration. May we ask if there's another query at this time? Question: I feel a procrastinating energy around manifesting this music. What is happening here, spiritually speaking? Please talk about this seeming blockage that comes and goes in my creative work. We are those of Quo, and we are aware of your query, my brother. Procrastination occurs when there is a portion of the self that feels unready to move forward. There are always riptides, as we have said, beneath the surface of the water. It is easy to splash through the surf, and even to enjoy the surf with a surfboard, but in your life there are many triggers that have been set for you by your experiences and by the fact that you have not balanced them in the past. They are like riptides that catch you and toss you away from your center, so that you are no longer communicating with your muse, shall we say. You have lost touch with your guidance. In many people, this feels more like depression than distraction. However it comes to you, it is a sign of your lack of focus. You are working against yourself. Part of you wants to create, and part of you does not feel ready. In order to resolve the impasse, we would encourage you at such times to go into the silence and once again offer up the frustration of creativity gone awry. What will come out of that silence is unknown. You may receive a real jolt of energy so that you're able to create. You may instead receive a feeling that it is best to move on to something else, to move away from that which is not coming easily, and give that part of yourself that is not quite ready time and space to do what it needs to do beneath the surface. When you are working with subconscious energies, you do not have the luxury of seeing what you're doing. You must take a lot on faith. You must have faith that the creative process in you will complete itself if you keep your instrument tuned. That is what the silence is for. That is what the attentiveness is for. You are an instrument of the Creator's, and you wish only to be used. Consequently, keep yourself in tune and ready to respond when the wind of spirit blows across the strings of your instruments. May we ask if there's another query? What archangel or other spiritual essence might aid me in coming into a place of inspiration where music and lyrics flow into the most beneficial form? We are those of Quo, and we are aware of your query, my brother. This question treads too closely to the bounds of free will for us to respond directly. We would ask you to trust and to know that you do indeed have a muse, and that muse is focused entirely upon supporting and encouraging and inspiring you. What is the shape of that muse, my brother? What name shall you call the source of your inspiration? What helper have you yearned for from the beginning? Name it, claim it, use it. For us to name that guidance and that inspiration for you would be utterly fruitless. This is your active process, and we wish you happy hunting. We thank the one known as W for this session, for this time together. We thank each of you in the circle of seeking for the beauty of your vibrations and the beauty of the combination of them that has made this surprisingly lovely experience for us. It has been a true pleasure to share our energy with you and to experience the beauty of each of you. We move to a very recent channeling delivered on November 26th, 2022. The sad part of this particular channeling is the main question, which is about forming social memory complexes in loneliness was not recorded, but there's some amazing questions afterwards. I am Quo. We would ask if there are any follow-up questions in this regard. Yes, I would like you, if you would just speak to the possibility of your focus. When you do have a physical thing or anomaly or whatever that you focus upon, how do you bring your focus to your true core or your true self? And not to put aside your physical, but not to make it as important as it has been most of your life. Or at least in my case. Would you speak to that, please? I don't know if that's a question or not. Jim channeling. I am Quo and I'm aware of your query, my brother. Each person within the third density illusion will have the catalyst from time to time of physical, mental, or emotional distortions that tend to take the attention and the focus of one's consciousness away from the primary goal of each third density seeker of truth, which is to discover the spiritual journey that has as its goal the unification of the seeker with the one creator within. When there is catalyst of a distracting nature, whether mental, emotional, or physical, this catalyst may be seen as a means of reminding the spiritual seeker that there is still a distance to be traveled in order to realize the spiritual quality of any catalyst that might occur to one within the third density illusion. This catalyst is that which has as its purpose a reminder that there is a great deal more to one's life experience than the experience of the catalyst. One may, as a means of self-discovery, move within the meditative states and see how the catalyst of whatever distortion is manifesting is becoming a potential for a further realization of the spiritual journey. If you ask in meditation, what is the purpose? What is the solution? What is the fruit of the catalyst? There is the possibility that there will be a still small voice within, which is the Creator, will respond by giving you the overview, the greater picture that exists within each person's life, so that you may put into perspective the catalytic effects of whatever distortion you feel in mind, body, or emotions, and find that there is yet and always will be the primary spiritual effort to seek and serve the one Creator in all, including within the self, and to go forth in whatever way is indicated most helpful for you by that still small voice within. Each has this ability to utilize any catalyst of difficulties and distortions that one may experience upon the spiritual path. This is the means by which such may gain understanding and reunification with that spiritual journey that one is on at all times. Is there a further query, my brother? Are there other factors other than anger or need for forgiveness that may underlie this particular malady? I am Quo and am aware of your query, my brother. In the general sense, there are no other factors other than the need for forgiveness and the removal of anger for the experience of what you call cancer. However, each person who has this quality of distortion may travel the path of forgiveness and anger in a unique way, which would need to be discovered so that the anger and forgiveness could be seen as the true means by which cancer was acquired and then healed. Is there another query at this time? So I hear that when we have a malady, when we have a cancer, to go inward and seek our Creator's voice for guidance. Is there any merit in a collective of people coming together to aid in the help of a particular person's healing? I am Quo and am aware of your query, my sister. Indeed, this type of group assistance is one of the great values of any effort that a group may make when it is dedicated to a particular outcome of helping one who is in the throes of cancer to understand more of the facets of how this may be addressed, so that the group energies may be focused upon the most effective manner of the experience of the cancer, the manifestation of the cancer, the potentials of various forms of healing of the cancer, be they forgiveness of self or other self or both. At this time, we will transfer this contact to the one known as Austin. I am Quo and am again with this instrument. Is there further query to which we may respond in this circle? This question comes from Doug. In the disclosure field of study, the name Galactic Federation is often used. In what way is the Galactic Federation related to the confederation for which Quo comes? I am Quo and am aware of your query, my sister. This is a somewhat difficult question for us to respond to, for it involves some barriers to the law of confusion, as we understand it, and speaking to various bodies of work such as channeling, and offering our evaluation through the instruments in this circle of other instruments' work. We may say generally that the art and this dance of channeling through instruments is often imprecise and is better viewed as a sharing of concepts, particularly those of a spiritual nature. The language used to describe these concepts can vary from instruments to instrument. This particular circle, known as LL Research, has a very well-established legacy of channeling the Confederation in service to the One Infinite Creator, using particular protocols and particular language that has been crystallized through the various decades of this service of channeling. There may be some correlations and similarities to the terminologies used by this circle that are portrayed with different language through other channels. However, we cannot speak specifically to the name presented, for we find that it has been both used to indicate the same entity known as the Confederation of Planets in service to the One Infinite Creator, but also used in what might be called mixed contact. And we may not speak specifically to these instances, but rather encourage the seeker to evaluate such information not on the specifics of language, but on the resonance within the heart and through the lens of true discernment by the seeker. Is there another query to which we may respond? The word love is used frequently in the Law of One, but love has become a buzzword in our culture. It can mean romance, marriage, charity, pity, or any number of things. The term compassion seems much richer and suggests service to others. Can you please speak to what you see as the difference between love and compassion? I am Quo, and I'm aware of the query, my brother, related to the dynamics of language as we were touching upon in our previous response. We find that a query such as this is insightful, for it asks the seeker to examine the use of language and the precision of language, to address concepts that in their deepest sense are beyond language. We find this method of examination useful in that it aids the seeker in contemplating for the self what these concepts may mean in their own journey. For instance, we reflect to the question that the term love, as described as a so-called buzzword, has very broad use in your own language, but may be incredibly meaningful on an individual level to any number of seekers. And so while the language in a broad sense may seem to be diluted, it may still hold incredible value and meaning in a more specific sense. So we encourage any who seek upon this path of dissecting and examining language to remain open to the flow of language and the ever-dynamic nature of words and how they may describe your journey of seeking. To speak more specifically to your question of these two terms, we do find that love in your language is used in a very broad sense to indicate many types of desire, to recognize the Creator within the creation, while the term compassion implies an active aspect of that love that is pointed, in a specific sense, to service. We find this distinction useful, for it is the purpose of third density to make the choice of service to others, and the term compassion, as you have defined it, and as we find is most used within your culture, allows for that active choice to be primary, a need to not just love in a broad sense, but to put that love into action in each moment, and find in each moment how one may manifest love through compassion and through the choice of service to others. We thank you, my brother, for this question, and we thank the circle for coming together this afternoon. We now take leave of this instrument and we transfer one last time to the instrument known as Jim. We are Quo. I am Quo. And once again with this instrument. At this time, we would thank all those attendees who gathered this afternoon to share their love and light with each other and with the one Creator within all. This is always the greatest inspiration for us to see how you move about within your third density illusion, powered by love, seeking the light, and sharing the unity of all creation. We would take our leave of this group and this instrument at this time. We leave you all in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator, Adonai Vasu Boragas. So I really enjoyed this. It gave me some insight in raising my own child. I definitely believe my kids are indigo children, as I'm sure all parents do. And they say the kids that are being born today are indigo children. So it's interesting, they make some distinctions the third generation of wonders is made up of indigo children, they explain, and there are many other terms for these children. However, they're explaining that these indigo children are graduates in this harvest from the third density of planet Earth. They just graduated from third density on Earth, and now they've come back. They're not coming from another planet necessarily, but they're coming back after graduating from third density, is what they say. These souls have moved through the gates into a larger life. They have dropped their physical bodies and entered into a healing process with their guidance and with all those forces which protect and nurture entities in the inner planes who are moving through the process of death and rebirth. Further, they have moved through the steps of light and have passed their graduation test. These are fourth density wanderers whose first act upon choosing what would please them the most to do was to return to their beloved home planet in order to assist not only the people, but also, perhaps more beneficially, the planet itself. So a lot of people have graduated, have come back. There are certainly wanderers from other planets, but the kids today are elevated in their natures. I just find that I learn so much from my children. It's amazing. While I am a father, I'm most likely a student when I'm with my kids. When it comes to music or other things, I'm continually shocked at how amazingly smart they are and insightful, and I'm continually learning. And this is something I didn't expect as a parent, to be such a student to my own kids. But they give a pretty powerful way to deal with your kids. Don't force your spirituality down their throats, but be open to answer questions when they ask. And there are extreme emotions that are involved in indigo children that come from fourth density back into third density. And there is pretty good information here to treat your child like you are one with them. So you see yourself in them like a mirror. I also found the responses in the second channeling interesting, in particular, the question about the Galactic Federation, something I've talked about in other episodes. There are tons of channelings out there that talk about the Galactic Federation, and many of these I do not resonate with. Many of those channelings are fear-based. Generally, they will indicate dates where something big is about to happen, or they talk about stuff that clearly just doesn't resonate with me. And it always seems to be with the Galactic Federation. There's something terrible that's happening. There's slave ships, or there's attack forces. The world's about to come to an end. And then they say the Galactic Federation's here to save us. And, you know, in some cases when they are referring to the Galactic Federation, as they indicate, the channeler is just revealing a concept, and that we should all evaluate channelings so that precise words are not being given when channeled, but concepts. And it's always good to evaluate channelings from your heart, and if it doesn't resonate, forget about it. And in some cases, when they refer to the Galactic Federation, they are referring to the Confederation of Planets as they are referred to in the Law of One. In some cases, they are not. And as with all spiritual information, you choose yourself whether it resonates with you or not. You know what you can trust and what you cannot, and that's the most powerful suggestion. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. Check out my previous episodes on the Law of One and Quo. Thank you so much for joining me. It's an honor to be able to share stuff like this and talk with you about it. Please put in the comments if you have an indigo child, and if you have any experiences, I would love to read them. So thank you for joining me, and welcome to The Reality Revolution.